Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green, manager of the AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys, today taking on the Bulls of Oxford United. I'm just guessing that they're called the Bulls based on their that bull that I just saw. So today I'm going to be talking about another Project for Awesome topic that was submitted by a donor to the P4A. Thank you very much for donating to the 2016 Project for Awesome. This one comes from Nick, who helpfully says that his last name is pronounced like a chicken patty, Nick Patty. Thank you, Nick. Truly, you are right to be concerned about my ability to pronounce your last name, even though the pronunciation of it should be very obvious, just because we all know how I pronounce Gillingham and or Gillingham. Still don't know. Rosianna, which one is it actually? There are two places. One of them is called Gillingham, and one of them is called Gillingham. That is ludicrous. Are you kidding? One's in Kent and one's in Dorset, both of which sound like regions of the country that you can only access via magic. I guess greetings to friends and foes abroad in both Gillingham and Gillingham. Great view of the DFTBA Nerdfight area shorts. By the way, I've gone up a level in skill to professional skill level. I feel like we're probably going to get pummeled, but we're going to try to do like at least a half of our games at professional skill level and see how it goes. Anyway, Nick's topic that he suggested was for-profit prisons, which is a very interesting topic. For those of you who live in Gillingham or Gillingham or Kent or Dorset or really anywhere outside of the United States, what I'm about to tell you is going to sound extremely weird and probably not a little sad. In the United States, we have about 5% of the world's humans right now in the U.S. I think a little under 5. And we have just under 25% of the world's prisoners. So we have about 5 times more prisoners than you would expect us to have. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, man, that must be great because your crime level must be so... Nope. It is not. It is not. We do not have a particularly low crime level. In fact, by a lot of measures, especially in terms of like violent crime, we have a much higher crime level than in most of the rich world. There are a lot of reasons for that, and I think people who try to tell easy, simple stories about crime statistics are oversimplifying. I think saying that it's all a result of... the fact that there are a lot of guns in the United States, for instance, is an oversimplification, although I do think that if we had tighter restrictions on gun ownership, there would certainly be less gun crime. There's pretty good evidence for that. Although there's not a ton, there's less data than you would expect on that topic. That was almost a really good counterattack, but it didn't happen for us, and it seems that we are in over our head with professional skill level, and indeed that has come to be the case. Shia LaBeouf fails to stop a shot from Oxford United, and we're already down 1-0 to a ginger in the 16th minute, which is a worrisome development, no doubt about it. And then, oh, that's just awful. What am I thinking? I got to do slow, patient build-up and use the width. Got to remember to use the width. All right, I'm going to get better. Right, so we have 25% of the world's prisoners and a pretty high crime rate, and so it doesn't seem like our prison system is particularly effective if the goal of the prison system is to reduce crime, because instead we just have a lot of prisoners, we spend a lot of money, aside from, the moral issues of incarceration, which are legion. We spend a lot of money on prisons, and then we don't really seem to get much for it because we don't have a low crime rate, or even really, like, any signs that the prison system that we have is particularly effective at preventing crime. But we do spend a ton of money on this, and it's mostly public money, right? Like prisons are usually like a government entity. The government runs the prison and pays for the the prisoners. Okay, Ball John Green he made a bad move, and then he was fouled from behind in a crime against, I don't want to say a crime against humanity because that might be a little too much. No. Why did I go to professional skill level? All I got was injured. Oh, no. Going to bring on Lyle Taylor. Some people call him the Messi from Montserrat. Some people call him the poorest man's ball John Green. Oh no, it's a terrible development. Oh. Right. So the idea is that the government runs these prisons. I'm not giving you the ball back. No! Why did they make me do that? Why does FIFA force you to be a good sport in a situation where you have no desire to be a good sport? I'll shove your sportsmanship where the... Sorry, I'm losing my temper. Yeah, so in most cases in the United States, the government pays for... well, I guess in all cases, directly or indirectly, the government pays for the running of prisons, which includes... it's actually quite expensive in the U.S., and because it is expensive, and because for a lot of like states and cities it is one of the largest line items on the budget, there are always attempts to make prisons less expensive per prisoner, to like increase or decrease the amount of money that is spent per year per prisoner, because it's this huge expense for all these state and local governments. So what to do? Well, one strategy for lowering costs is to privatize, which means that instead of the government running the prison and the people who work in the prison being employees of the government, instead the government can say to a bunch of private companies, will you... Oh boy, everything worked out better than expected. We're still in it with a chance, although we have not created any chances as of yet. It's hard to play FIFA and talk about prisons. Anyway... yeah, the government can say basically, go to private companies and say, listen, can any of you guys, oh, what are you doing, Lyle Taylor? You literally just fell down for no reason. The government can go to private companies and say, do any of you want to do this work for us? And we won't have to offer the benefits that we offer to public employees, and things will be cheaper because private enterprise is ostensibly more efficient than public enterprise. Now, I believe that is true. Like, I believe that private companies are more economically efficient than public companies, or, you know, public services. However, there's a couple problems with this. One is that, like, there isn't competition. Like, markets work via competition, and there isn't competition in the prison market in the same way there's competition in, say, like, the market. Finish it! Oh, finish it! I've been tackled from behind. It has to be a penalty. Oh my God, I've been unfairly maligned repeatedly by the referee in this game, and most notably when I was forced to kick the ball to my enemies despite having clearly been fouled and injured. Oh, really unnecessary slide tackle there. Overreaction Jackson with the slide tackle. Okay, so this has happened in a lot of places in the United States where private companies are hired to run prisons. These private companies are for-profit companies, so it is in their best interest to have prisons. Not just prisons, but prisons with lots and lots of prisoners who go to jail for a really long time. And that creates very strange incentives. Like, when you're talking about private enterprise and you're talking about capital markets working like they should, and, you know, the world... basically, like, prices going down via competition and markets creating efficiency, all of which I believe in, that's fine, but you also need to bear in mind what the incentives are. And when you are creating incentives for private companies to, you know, offer constitutionally minimal, or in many cases unconstitutional, quality of incarceration, while also basically encouraging those private companies to find ways to keep prisoners in prison for a long time, you're really messing up the incentives. You're forgetting what the actual incentives are, which is to minimize the number of crimes that take place, right? Like, that's the goal. The goal is not to minimize the cost of prisoner care. The goal is to minimize the number of prisoners, and we've done a terrible job of that in the United States over the last 50 years. And a lot of this is a legacy of institutional racism in the United States. That's a very uncomfortable topic for a lot of people, but it's true. The United States has a strong history of racial bias in its incarceration practices. That is an ongoing history. There is a massive amount of evidence about this. I'll put a link in the doobly-doo to a video I made about the statistical evidence that there is racial bias in the justice system, especially in terms of sentence length. It is not really a debatable topic because the evidence is so overwhelming and consistent, and has been for a really long time. I mean, in incarceration, mass incarceration has been used in the United States. Are you kidding? You're really going to call? Oh my God. Mass incarceration has been used in the United States as a tool of systemic racism for a very, very long time, and there's a wonderful documentary on Netflix about this, at least in part about this, called 13th, I think it's called. Really great, highly recommended. But it's one, oh frick, now it's two now. This is one symptom among many of a very, very serious problem that we have in the United States when it comes to how we treat people who have committed crimes. The vast majority of people who are in prison in the United States also are in prison for drug-related crimes, and there is very little evidence that putting those people in jail results in really any positive outcomes for them or for anyone else. And yeah, I think the mass incarceration problem in the U.S. is one of the biggest and least talked about problems that we have. And the reason we don't talk about it is because it's uncomfortable, and because you have to talk about people who, in most cases, have done things that are wrong. But that doesn't mean that they aren't people, and that they aren't that they shouldn't be entitled to equal protection under the law and basic human rights. And I think that's, we end up not having the conversation we need to have because we think there are easy solutions, and there just aren't easy solutions when it comes to mass incarceration. So that's what I think. Oh my God, we almost scored at the very end there. It would have been a goal, a meaningless goal, except psychologically it would have been very meaningful. I would like to be able to credit Oxford United for this victory, but unfortunately I can't, because it was insured by the referee. Other John Green, of course, devastated, how could he not be, at the loss of his partner, husband, and co-parent to injury in a crime. Wow, that is a really bad receding hairline. My God. I mean, I don't know which player that is, but if it's Frankenstein, and I think it might be, I would sue. I would sue EA. Anyway, thanks for watching. Best wishes.